This episode is sponsored by Kerkering Barberio, your trusted partner in tax, audit, and outsourced accounting services. Serving Sarasota, Manatee, and the greater Tampa Bay area for over 50 years, KB helps clients achieve their personal and business goals. Visit kbgrp.com to learn more. Florida Aquarium CEO Roger Germann is a high-energy leader of a noted cultural and tourism landmark in Tampa. He's also well-versed in marketing, fundraising, and running dynamic and diverse organizations. To read more about leaders like Roger, subscribe to the Business Observer. Go to businessobserverfl.com to subscribe. Hello and welcome to the Business Observer from the Corner Office podcast. I'm Mark Gordon, managing editor of the Business Observer. Today's guest is Roger Germann, CEO of the Florida Aquarium. Roger, welcome and thanks for being here. A lot of exciting things happening at the aquarium, and you had a pretty interesting career, both in aquariums and before that. We're going to get into that in a minute, but for our audience to get to know you a little bit, I'm just going to ask you a couple of really quick hit questions. Okay.
Sure.
Do you have a favorite aquarium? Well, I'm sure you do. A favorite aquarium themed movie? Like it could be, for example, Finding Nemo. I'm not saying it is Finding Nemo, but what's your favorite aquarium themed movie?
Oh man, I probably got to go with Steve Zissou, right? And oh my gosh, now I'm drawing a blank. You would never know it's my favorite movie, but that Red Stocking Cap and Bill Murray and Willem Dafoe, like, oh my God, it's one of the funniest movies ever. So I think that I got to go with that one.
All right, awesome. More serious, how many unread emails do you have right now?
Zero, believe it or not. Before today's session, I went through them all.
So we're recording mid-morning on what day is today, Tuesday, and you're inbox zero. Good job. Okay, and what is on a good day, a really perfect, almost perfect day? What is your morning routine?
Oh, get up super early, get rid of those emails that we talked about a little bit earlier. I answer them. That is the downfall of having zero, right? Is everybody's getting emails at like 5:45 in the morning.
Yes.
Get my cup of coffee. Believe it or not, I do drink decaf, coffee. Make sure kids are all off to school, ready to go. My wife's all set, and then just kind of get in here, before everybody else does, get a fresh start. So, that's like the perfect morning. Get up early, bang out a few things, make sure the kids and the family are taken care of, and then just get in as early as I can and start the day.
Yes, early morning is always a good routine.
Yeah.
All right, excellent. So we're going to get into a little bit about your career first, and I thought I think it's really interesting. People know you in Tampa, I think almost 8 years now as the CEO of the Florida Aquarium in Tampa, but you had a career in media and press and different things before that. Tell us a little bit about your pre-aquarium career.
Yeah, it's I don't have that linear path, right? It's one of those ones where you decide like, hey, what do I want to do? You think through things in high school. As a matter of fact, coming out of high school, I was like, well, maybe I'll just go be a lawyer and, the PA or, prosecutor or something and take some pre-law classes. Well, then you start lining up and you do fun things. And as you said, I ended up starting my career in television, believe it or not, in Chicago. And that really came from just a love of writing and journalism, but also at the University of Illinois started the first color commentary play-by-play for the hockey team. So I kind of fell in love. I'm like,
right.
My athletic career never went anywhere. But I can be in sports. I can be on the other side. I can be a sportscaster. And then, it just really got me into television. And then I had a choice to make because I did an internship and then I got a chance to be hired, at the ABC affiliate there. And it's in the number 3 market in the country. And usually if you left Chicago, you went to New York or LA, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, wait, I'm in Chicago. I grew up in Chicago. Yeah, I'm already here, but I got to go behind the scenes. And is that a choice I wanted to make? And it was a pretty easy choice to make. And so, that kind of launched everything from, where I'm at today, believe it or not, a foundation in television journalism with a minor in political science.
Yeah. All right. So I knew you had a Chicago background, but you've been in Tampa almost a decade, right?
Yep.
Did you come here a Blackhawks fan and become a Lightning? The aquarium does a lot of work with the Lightning. There's a big partnership there, obviously, and your neighbors as well. Did you come here a Blackhawks fan, and did you give up being a Blackhawks fan?
So never give up what your roots are in, right? You can't be a
Yes,
third,
I
fourth
know it's hard.
generation, right? Blackhawks fan. You can't be a third generation, White Sox fan, all of those. So what was unique for me is number one, I knew all of the owners, a lot of the executives of the teams in Chicago.
Yeah,
And then I had a chance to come here. Matter of fact, I give a shout out to Jeff Vinnick, so Rocky Wirtz, who has since passed away from running the Blackhawks. One of the things when they learned I was coming here said, look, you're going to a city that has an incredible owner, an incredible
sure.
organization. So when I met with everybody here, Mark, honestly, I said, look, there's usually one game a year, or if you're in baseball, it's 3 games a year.
Right.
Don't invite me. I'll take care of myself. Outside of that, all in on supporting the Tampa Bay
Yeah.
teams.
Yeah. No, I grew up in New York, a big Rangers hockey fan,
Oh
but
yeah.
it's hard not to enjoy. I mean, the Lightning are such a class organization, and the games are amazing. The fan experience is so amazing. So it's hard not to
Yeah.
become a Lightning fan.
Yeah, no, I agree. Look, and you've said talk about being a Rangers fan, and we'll go down this rabbit hole a little, right? But you got two original six teams, and whether
Yeah.
you're seeing them play at Madison Square Garden, I'm seeing the Blackhawks play at the old barn, and
Yeah.
to come down here and see that replicated, especially during post COVID. I think what the Lightning did, was really amazing. To your point, elevate that fan experience, and it
Yeah.
started feeling on those Stanley Cup runs more like an original six team, and that was super cool.
Yeah, it was for sure. All right, so you get here 2017, you're at the aquarium. What were some of the things, it's this iconic destination in Tampa, really in Florida, and obviously you have a national pull, but what were some of the things you did as a leader to kind of cement the organization and get it on a growth trajectory when you got here?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is it's one of these kind of Midwestern values that's here in Tampa, right? It's this little city that has all of this potential and it continues to grow and be bigger. But sometimes we have a hesitancy to fall back into we're just kind of Tampa, right? We're just St. Pete, we're Sarasota, that kind of market, right? And I think that was probably the biggest thing, walking in the door when I went through the interview process and I looked at our board and I looked at our staff. I said a couple things. Number one, this organization is on the cusp of stratospheric success, but we have to believe in ourselves. We have to believe in a bigger vision. We have to say, look, we want to be, the world, the world class aquarium that we can be, and not that it wasn't. It
Yeah.
just, it was okay, right? It's just, we're just chugging along, and we set that North Star really, really high, right? Benchmark Madison Avenue, like benchmark, LaSalle Street or the Mag Mile, in
Yeah.
Chicago. Let's go for it. And thankfully, the senior team and really all of our staff and our board rallied around it. And I think that's really what projected us. We believe in something bigger, and how do we achieve it? And then how does that manifest itself in our community? And thankfully, in the last 7.5, almost 8 years, it has.
Yeah. No, you guys have been remarkable in terms of the growth and outreach. How did you, just hearing you talk about it, it's almost like two chapters, right? Because you get here and you start doing it, and then obviously this thing happens, which actually, believe it or not, crazy. This March, right, is the 5 year, I don't know if you call it an anniversary, that sounds celebratory, but it's the 5 year mark of COVID, right? And so how did you deal with, because you're a tourism destination at heart, so how did you guys deal with that crisis in March 2020?
Yeah, I think it's a couple things. So number one, to your point, we had this momentum that was moving into March of 2020. So we started increasing revenue, we started increasing attendance. What we did really there was started reconnecting also with our locals. That was really, really important because you mentioned the tourism destination, and a lot of what we relied on was being a tourism economic driver, which we are, right?
Yeah.
But I relied a lot on that tourism dollar. Unfortunately, in some cases, to the detriment or, the kind of pushing your locals aside. So really in the 18, 19 and going into 20, our campaign was to reconnect with a lot of our locals, make sure they know that this is their aquarium, right? And that momentum kicked in. So as you get into, the pandemic, we divided up into three functions that we had. The first group was, look, we're going to close. We're closed for 8 weeks. We were the first public aquarium to reopen in North America, but closed for 8 weeks. You had a group that said, take care of the animals, right? And take care of the building. You had another group that said, hey, look, you're going to focus, smaller group, but you're going to focus on, kind of innovation, how can we do things better when we do emerge from this? What are things that we can stop doing? Because every CEO will tell you, every year we develop a stop doing list, and I bet it just keeps adding. Nobody ever stops doing. So
Stop doing list.
Absolutely. So what do you stop? And then the third part, which kind of a little bit fell to me, is what I did is I kind of looked a little bit back at history and I studied the Great Depression. And I said, look, in one of these times, there were companies we all talk about, right? I mean, the biggest thing is everybody that failed, but there were companies that thrived, expanded,
Yeah.
and opened. And so how did they do it? Are there themes and characteristics? Are there business strategies? So that was one. And then the other one was studying the Spanish flu, believe it or not, because I'm like, is there something there? And at least in my little, South Side Chicago, just common sense thing, what I noticed was about 18 months for the Spanish flu, everybody was just done. Didn't matter if
Yeah.
vaccines, not whatever, everybody was done. Even Babe Ruth had the Spanish flu twice. So we started budgeting, thinking, look, if human behavior repeats itself, will we see this? And I will say, it's a credit to our team and where we buckle down. But that June of 21, which is almost about that 18-month mark, we
Yeah.
were back at 2019 levels. So it was really
Wow.
cool to see. Yeah.
That's
So
pretty amazing. That's a great story. History does repeat itself. That's pretty amazing. All right,
yeah.
so Roger, looking at your career both here and in other places, you mentioned your team, your senior level team. You got to have that team to execute on the strategy. What do you look for in leaders? What are some of the characteristics that stand out to you in good leaders?
I look for a couple of things. One is values. I mean, I really look at people's values because your culture, everybody wants to say, culture eats strategy and all that stuff. But, the reality is that culture is really, really important. So, do we have a team, that has the same values? Do I have a team that thinks bigger and bolder, right? That walks in every day and is like, what can we do today? To make a difference. And it could be big and bold. And you may not achieve it that day, but that's what your motivator is, right? At the end of the day, respect, trustworthy, transparency. I know that those are, good characteristics, but the reality of it is that there's a lot of people out here who have, expertise in a lot of areas. But where
Yeah.
companies and like organizations ours go wrong, right, is not a culture fit. Maybe it's just, again, not pushing yourself and driving for innovation or, willing to take those risks, and it's that passion and dedication. And as you said, like when I wake up in the morning, there's a passion and dedication I have to go through those emails, right? It's not drudgery because I want to do it, right? Isn't it? I think it's like Socrates and Mark Twain all said, love what you do and you'll never work a day in your life. I try to look for that in the leadership team of they love what we do because then it's a nonprofit. We can pay our bills, but we're not on the front lines. So many of these folks can go other places and make more money and have a different lifestyle. But we all choose to be here for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's so amazing. And plus, as you said, that that passion of wanted, you have this amazing place where you work. I mean, I haven't been there probably in 10 years to the aquarium, I got to say, but when my son was younger, we were there a lot, and we're in Sarasota, obviously, but what a great place to come to work every day.
Yeah, no, it really is. I mean, it's, you walk in and this is the days when there's some days I walk outside and I hear kids laughing, right? That's all
Yeah.
I needed, right, for the day, right? There's other days I'm just like, you know what? Let me just go watch a shark swim around, right? Or,
Yeah.
see a river otter playing in the water. It's just, there's always something different and new when you're caring for, life, and it's just constantly
Yeah.
changing. And, that's led to our success because if we believe it, our guests feel it too,
Yeah.
both in exhibitry, but also how they feel when they're greeted, and our guest services staff is amazing. So yeah, it motivates us every day.
Yeah. Awesome. What about in more internally for you? What is a piece of leadership advice or something that you've learned from a mentor, let's say, over the years that really stuck out with you? A great piece of leadership advice.
Well, I'll use a visual example first, and you'll get where I'm saying. So I usually tell people who want to walk into the CEO role to take your glamour shot or your headshot on day one. Because the advice I got was if you're doing it really, really white, sitting in this seat, by the end of that first week, your lower lip is going to be so fat, like you don't want to take a picture because you should be listening, right? That's the hardest thing, right? Because in my career and the folks that I manage regularly, I mean, you're a go-getter, right? You're trying to be noticed. You're trying to move up in your career. You're just constantly churning. And then you sit in this seat, right? And all of a sudden you go, holy cow, I can see the bigger picture, way different, so all those times I kept saying to my boss, like, why aren't you doing this? And why aren't you, like, now I understand. So it really is the best advice I have that I got from many mentors, was bite your lip, listen way more than you probably are going to be used to, and just kind of watch what happens. Because when you listen, sometimes, the dust just settles and you don't even see the dust in the air. And then you have a better result later on
Yeah.
too. That's probably the biggest advice I still live by every day.
Yeah.
And I give.
Yeah, that's such a great, as you said, illustration and sort of image of, you have what is it, 2 ears, one mouth kind
Yep.
of advice, right? Which is great for leaders in any organization. So we talked, sports analogy, right? We talked about the Blackhawks and the Lightning, and it's a good segue because the Blackhawks have had some amazing success the last 15 years, right? 3 cups, and then they've also had some spectacular failures as well, and it's that balance. What's the flip side of that as a leader? How have you sort of overcome those setbacks? I'm obviously not losing a Stanley Cup, but the things that didn't go your way, where there was a project you didn't get, an executive you wanted to hire. How have you as a leader overcome setbacks?
Yeah, I think part of it is my approach has always been, everything happens for a reason, right? And try to, I drive my staff and probably my kids, nuts in the sense, no problems, only solutions, right? Look at the world with the glass is half full, it's not half empty, all of those. And I know they sound cliche, but I mean, it's my DNA of who I am, right?
Yeah,
So I never really look at a setback to be like, it's just, oh my goodness gracious, right? Like it's debilitating. It really, really took us down. It's a matter of, hey, we missed the mark on that one. Maybe that was a bad decision. Like I said, maybe somebody didn't want to come here. Oh well. But there's all things happen for a reason at the end
yeah,
of the day. And how do you keep focused on that? And and when needed, I have my close counselor type friends, right, who I can pick up a phone and go, all right, walk me through this one, right? Or I'll go
yeah,
home and talk to my wife, who's wickedly smart, and I'll be like, all right, explain this one a little more to me
yeah.
because it's tough. But from the sports analogy too, of not only just those failures or times where you miss the mark, but the success. And sometimes it gets me a little in trouble. So Lou Holtz, he had mentioned to that, I had a friend who played at the the Notre Dame team that won a championship, and Lou would always tell that team, when you score a touchdown, you hand the ball to the referee, you act like you've been there before, you get on the sideline and you get ready for what's next. Now that motivates me and drives me. So both the good and the bad is like, yep, we don't have time to languish
Yeah,
on either side. Just get back in the game and get back out there again. So when you get
yeah.
the tough things dealt your way, you just got to deal with them quickly. And unfortunately, the good things go equally as fast.
No, 100%. And to stick on the sports thing, because I love that line, act like you've been there before. My wife uses that line a lot, like with our son and in our family, and is really deep in the rabbit hole. But I finally watched the Barry Sanders documentary on Amazon a few weeks ago. And he added to that line, which I never knew. He said, because he was famous, right, Barry Sanders, for just handing the
Yeah,
ball to the referee. Act like you've been there before, and you're going to be there again.
that's really cool.
Wasn't that? It was a great addition to that line. It's like stuck in my head ever since I saw that. Because obviously he's Barry Sanders. He's going to be back in the end zone again.
Absolutely. No, that's fantastic. I'm adding that one now to my
Yes.
repertoire. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, Roger. So as I said, we're mid-February here, 2025. What can people look forward to at the Florida Aquarium the rest of this year? What's new and exciting and happening at the Florida Aquarium?
Yeah, look, this is another exciting year that we've been building towards. And so we launched a couple of years ago a $45 million capital campaign for some new renovations and expansions. And we need to get you down here not only to see the 30 million we've already put into the building, but what's coming next. So
Yes.
I think there's a couple of big events that are going to happen over the next several months. So next month in March, we celebrate our 30th anniversary. It's hard to believe 30 years,
That's wild.
right, that
Yeah.
the Florida Aquarium has been thriving. So it's going to be a year-long commemoration and celebration. So there's just going to be lots of fun things throughout the year, from opportunities to visit to programming. So enjoy and stay tuned for all of the cool things that we're going to do. But later this summer will be phase 2 of that $45 million project that will open. And so on our second floor mezzanine, those who've kind of been around, you come through where stingrays are and it becomes kind of almost a mall again. And then you find your way back through the exhibits. Now we're going to gallerize that, as I like to say. And we're bringing in a brand new touch exhibit that really takes up close to the rugged coast. 60 feet long, just immersive, and it's going to be a super cool experience. And so everybody gets a chance to, touch these amazing sea creatures, up close, personal, learn about them, learn about their history. And that'll be phase 2. That will be this summer, which then leads into 26 and 27 between puffins, sea lions, and, and more penguins. So it's an exciting time to be here and enjoy the aquarium.
Awesome. Roger Germann, CEO of the Florida Aquarium. Thank you so much for joining us on the From the Corner Office podcast.
Happy to be here. Thanks, Mark. See you soon.
Thank you for listening to the Business Observer From the Corner Office podcast. I'm your host, Mark Gordon. This podcast was produced by Reed Corley of the Corley Company in Sarasota. To hear more episodes of From the Corner Office podcast, go to businessobserverfl.com.